Well, welcome back, folks, to the channel. I hope everyone's doing great out there. So, we have a lot to talk about today. So, past couple weeks, I was very busy with work, so I thought it would be good to take some time off from YouTube. And, sometimes taking a break is a good thing. I think it was good for me to kind of get away from it for a little bit. And also, too, just to start thinking about the next projects that are coming up. And now that I have a bit of time over the holidays and all that before things kind of kick off again next year, definitely have a long list of different projects that we're going to be doing and getting kicked off for the wintertime. So our first one today is going to be a new project, reloading 32 ACP. Now, 32 ACP. Well, it's one of those things where there's going to be a lot of kind of issues with this, I would say, or challenges that we will need to tackle to reload this successfully. It's not necessarily as straightforward as some other cartridges out there due to just some different factors, which we're going to talk about here. As you can see, I've got reloading manuals laid out here all over the back of the RTV, hand loader magazine, all sorts of stuff we're going to be talking about here. So where do we start? Well, the first thing is, how did this come about for me? Well, pretty simple. I don't know about you all, but a number of years ago, Classic Firearms, they were probably the main seller of these, but a number of 32 ACP surplus Beretta 81s came onto the market. These apparently, from what I heard, they were used in the Italian prison system of all things. In any case, they are Italian police surplus handguns. And if you've not had a chance to shoot one of these, I highly recommend it. Now, I'll tell you what, a lot of times it's a lot of fun to shoot like 357 Magnum and, different things like that. This is kind of on the other end of it. It's almost like a Super 22 LR is kind of what it feels like. There's pretty much no recoil. It's very easy to shoot. These handguns are very accurate. And the very cool thing was, at the time when they came out on the surplus market, was they were only, I picked mine up, I think, for $209, I think, as I recall, from Classic Firearms. And there was a little bit of a variation in different prices and stuff. But, somewhere below $250, and a couple other sellers had them, but it's basically kind of more like a mini Beretta 92, and they're just really fine handguns. From what I was able to determine, mine was made in 1980. I had to clean it up just a little bit. It was kind of things like, dirt and stuff had gotten in some of the screws, kind of underneath the grips and stuff, different things like that, but just really fine handguns. And kind of back in the day with Europe, this 32 ACP cartridge, it goes back to 1899. So it's been around a long time, and especially in the early 20th century and also in Europe, 32 ACP, it was a very popular cartridge for police and in some cases military. And there were, at that time, there were quite a few kind of pocket pistols or smaller pistols made to suit this cartridge and all that. And then, it kind of died out a little bit in terms of widespread military and police use. And as a result, in recent years, there haven't been really a huge amount of handguns made in 32 ACP. Keltec is a company which they have made some 32 ACP stuff that I know of. Beretta, they still make the Tomcat, which I wouldn't mind getting a little Tomcat. Those look pretty cool. But, it's kind of faded a little bit. And that's one issue which we'll talk about kind of in a minute in terms of actually trying to reload this. Well, where can we start here kind of with everything that's going on? There's a couple of things that I wrote down, some different issues that we have to overcome with this. So when we do this project, some different stuff that, that is going to be kind of maybe a problem to kind of circumvent. And what I kind of have done is I, went out and did my research. I did a search on YouTube. There's not really much in the way of YouTube videos on this. Probably the best piece of recent information that I was able to find was this article in Handloader magazine back in February 2021. Terry Wieland wrote an article on reloading 32 ACP. And it's probably the most informative bit that I've seen in recent times about it. Like I said, this cartridge doesn't get a huge amount of coverage or a massive amount of interest. So it's not like a thing like 9mm or something where there's just tons of information out there and powders and products and knowledge and all that. There's just not a lot that you can kind of pick from. And so he probably put together the most comprehensive article and talked about some of the different issues that you could potentially encounter in regards to reloading this cartridge. And and there are some different things we need to talk about. Also did a search through all of the reloading manuals to kind of see what was on offer. Some were better than others. The Lyman manual, they had a little bit of stuff on it, some different loads and all that. Some of the manuals, pretty much there wasn't much to be had at all, like the Hornaday manual. Pretty much nothing really of useful value in it. Also the Spear manual, I think pretty much the same thing. I think there's a newer Spear manual out now, but anyways, not a great deal of information in that. And then in the Lee manual, there was actually some stuff. And then also the Sierra manual, all they had back here in the far corner was they had a load for the 71 grain full metal jacket. So I've not seen Sierra have that bullet out on the market. So I don't know. So that data, we have the data, but as far as I know, they don't have a current product out for that. So anyways, but so I kind of did my research on it as much as I could. And well, there's not a huge amount of information out there on it. So what's the other problem that we have with this? Where do I even start? There's kind of a couple different things going on. We'll just pick one at random here. Variation in bullets. Okay, so that is one thing, is that because this cartridge has been around for 125 years, there is a little bit of variation in bullet diameters and bore diameters. Usually most American pistols oriented to the American market, they're sized anywhere from about 0.31 to 0.312. A lot of the European older pistols, they are sized a bit differently, like 308 or even lower. Someone even said 0.303. So a lot of difference there. Also with reloading components as well. Privy Partisan, for instance, they make brass and they make bullets, but all their stuff is sized for 0.308, where the Starline brass and all the American stuff is sized a little bit bigger. So you have variations there that you need to be kind of concerned about. So that is potentially one issue. One thing that's nice with the Handloader article is basically the author is using the same pistol that I'll be using. So that kind of helps in that sense, in terms of what to kind of expect. So that's a help. So you've got that variation there. You do need to think about if you're reloading for perhaps a older, early 20th century pistol. There might be some variation there. So that's something to be aware of. The second thing is the powder measure in terms of the charges. So this is a thing of where with 32 ACP, we're looking at charges pretty much that are kind of in a very narrow range, especially depending on some of the powders, where you really do have to watch in regards to some of these loads, because you are kind of on a fine line between where everything's all good and then you're over. Because it is such a small little case and a small little cartridge, with some of the powders, you can kind of go from, everything being okay to everything kind of not being okay. So that is something to be concerned about. And the question is that my RCBS, can it handle that? Well, that is something we are going to find out. Can it handle those small powder charges of around 2 to 3 grains and be able to not have any issues with any deviation or anything like that? Then the other thing that we have that is potentially an issue is lack of available components. So this is kind of a little bit of a problem if you compare it to, again, like 9mm or 38 Special or something 45 ACP. Tons of products out there. With this, we are very limited in terms of what is actually on the market. So I have a variety of Mixmaster brass from a variety of brands of stuff that I have bought as factory ammo and shot. The issue is some of that, I know, for instance, is like Privy Partisan brass. So is that really going to work with hand loading if it's kind of undersized for what we're doing? In terms of me trying to match a bigger bullet that is sized .312 with brass that is sized for .308. If it's Privy Partisan brass, that could potentially be a problem. So one thing that I did was I got some Starline brass, which is currently available. And from what I could find is they are pretty much the only ones making new 32 ACP brass. Now, I know in recent times, Hornaday has made brass. I know Privy Partisan has made their brass. But in terms of what is actually available right now, the only people I could find is Starline, which is fine. So probably for consistency's sake, I might just want to kind of stick with Starline brass and order more of it. So I actually need to do that. So we'll probably do Starline brass. I think that's probably a good idea for consistency. We will stick with that. Now, in terms of bullets, what do we have? Not a lot of choice. Now, let's start with, first thing is, let's see, maybe it was about 2 years ago, I was able to get, oh boy, the box is all, oh boy, do I need to, there we go. There we go. We have some Remington 71 grain full metal jacket bullets. Now, the thing was, Midway was having a closeout on these. These were bulk packaged bullets. They were having a bit of a closeout, and I don't even know if I even own this pistol yet. I'm not sure. But they had a really good price on them, so I was able to pick up the max they would let you buy, which was 3 boxes. So I have 300 of these. Now, again, a concern is availability. Trying to actually find this stuff, if it was even in production recently, actually finding it, I can't find anymore. So if anyone knows a quality source for these bullets, let me know. I may be interested in acquiring more as long as the price is reasonable. So if it, like a quality vendor out there, maybe I've missed, some of them maybe I've not looked at, Mid-South Shooters, Powder Valley, whoever. So not like a total, we must have them right now, but definitely something to be on the lookout for. Now, I think potentially Remington may still be making these bullets. These were from before the big bankruptcy thing that went down with Remington. Now, there again, so it's a thing of, are these even in production? I think potentially, maybe they are. And the reason for that is maybe about a month or so ago, I was actually able to buy some of this brand new, or it should be brand new from as far as I know, brand new Remington 32 ACP with that same 71 grain bullet. So if they are in fact, turning out this ammunition, which it appears that they are, then they're making these bullets, but are they releasing them to hand loaders? That is the question. So there's some potential there for that. Wouldn't mind getting a hold of some more of those. Otherwise, it's kind of a dead-end kind of road. Then the other thing that we have, which I picked up the other day at Cabela's, was they had this lonely box of 85 grain XTP bullets. Well, with these, are they going to work in this Beretta? Because as we know, with a lot of these older type handguns, the feed ramps and stuff a lot of times are not really good at, picking up, hollow points. So, can this handgun do it? Do I have a bit of rust on there? What is that? Huh. I hope not. Anyways, don't want you to rust. So, yeah, I just saw something on it. I was like, what is that? Anyways, looks like just a little smudge or something. I was concerned there for a second. I was like, don't you dare rust on me. So then these bullets here, would they potentially work? And I think the reason why these might be out there on the market is because we've got that new 30 Super Carry. Is that cartridge going to fly or not? Well, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not, it seems like they always release all these different cartridges, and, a good part of the time they don't end up going anywhere. Then the next thing is berries. Now, I had mixed results with berries bullets before. They did okay, but it wasn't anything I was like over the moon about, but they did okay. In this case, though, pretty much they're about the only ones out there supporting this cartridge with anywhere near kind of a decent bullet that is widely available. And that's part of it, is can you actually get them without chasing them all over the countryside? And with this, you can. So I have had no problem finding these at Cabela's or other vendors. They seem to be out there. They seem to be available. It's basically a plated bullet, just like all of Barry's stuff is. Let's go ahead and slice these open here. Of course, I had to pick up the box, which I hadn't opened yet. So, figures. The knife I'm using. Good old Martini from Finland. If you've not seen these are pretty damn good knives. The Barry's plated bullets, 71 grain. And I think these are pretty cheap too. I think they're going for like 8 cents a bullet right now. So probably this is going to be the load that we're going to concentrate on first, is getting these. Because if I have these, then I've got like a good plinker bullet where I can go out and blast away with them. So I'm really hoping that these work out well. In that hand loader article, it seemed that the author, he seemed to like those quite a lot and ended up working up a fair number of loads with them. With, looks like Bullseye, Unique, AA2, AA5, Red Dot, Clays, Universal, Tight Group. So, seemed like it worked out a lot of good loads with that. So, probably that's going to be our go-to bullet. I think the other thing too for primers, to keep it simple, I'm not going to use those S&B primers. I'm just going to stick with CCI small pistol and go with that, since I like the CCI small pistol better. So we'll use those, but pretty much if it wasn't for berries, probably with this cartridge, you'd be somewhat more limited or almost screwed. Because there just is not a lot of stuff out there for this cartridge that you could use. There really isn't. Then the other issue with this is that it is kind of a small little rinky-dink cartridge. So you can see it in my hands here. It's a lot harder to manipulate, and it's probably, in terms of the case strength, not as much as other cartridges. And it's just more kind of fiddly to deal with. So that's one kind of issue dealing with it as well. Kind of a little cartridge, you know, a little bit harder to manipulate, probably not as fun to resize and all that stuff. Then in terms of the dies, what dies are we going to use? Well, I've not used Lyman dies before, so this is going to be all new for me. And I can't remember why I ended up buying this die set, other than I thought it was probably the best one at the time that I could find. And so with it, we've got our resizing die in here, and we also have our expanding die, and then we have our seating die also. So we've got 3 different dies. There's also all these different seating stems and other stuff in here. So I've got to figure all that out. I haven't, quite honestly, other than wrapping these in protective paper, I've not even had a chance to kind of look at these yet. And kind of the way I decided to do it was I'm not going to overly get too concerned about it. I'll just focus on it step by step, okay? Kind of like, you know, sometimes it's the best way to do things. You know, focus on, okay, first, let's get these babies resized. Okay, we've done that. Then let's focus on getting everything expanded, and we've done that. Then we can focus on getting them primed. Then we can focus on seating the bullet and figuring out how to crimp them. Now, one thing is that the author in the Handloader magazine article did was they got a Redding taper crimp die, and they did their crimping separate from the seating die. I just looked that up, and basically it takes like 2 months to get the die. So I don't know if that's going to be something that I want to wait around for or not, but I guess it's something that I can consider if crimping while seating doesn't work out. So, you know, anyways, so that is one of the things that we've got coming up and that I'm going to be working on here shortly. And yeah, there is kind of a lot of issues there to kind of overcome. It's just not as straightforward necessarily as some of these other cartridges where you have just a bazillion components and recipes and knowledge and all that stuff. It's kind of a bit more limited in what you can actually use. And kind of the end goal for me is, you know, with this handgun, or if I end up getting a Walther PP or you know, a Beretta Tomcat or something like that, is, you know, I just want like a good, solid, reliable kind of target cartridge that I can use and just go up to the range and have fun with it. I really enjoy shooting this handgun. Like I said, there's like no recoil. It's kind of like a Super 22, really. And it's just so much fun to shoot. I just love shooting it. So I just want like a good target load, you know. Not as concerned about the self-defense aspect of it because, you know, in regards like, you know, with like self-defense in terms of a carry pistol, it's a little bit of a heavy pistol. You know, it's got some weight to it. So if you're going to carry this much weight, you probably just go ahead and find, you know, a more suitable, more modern 9mm to do it. You know what I mean? So anyways, yeah, a lot going on with this project. If you guys have any tips, tricks, knowledge, you know, whatever it might be in regards to this cartridge, you know, opinions, whatever, feel free to leave it below. You know, I love to read comments and stuff. The only thing I delete is that if it's some sort of nasty or stupid comment that doesn't, you know, advance the conversation or or provide any useful information or knowledge for other folks out there. But yeah, if you have any good information or anything like that, feel free to post it below. This is going to be an interesting project. It's probably going to maybe take a little bit. I'm not sure. We also have to figure out what powder we're going to use. I think what I'm probably going to do, because of the limitations of what's out there, is probably going to start with tight group, I'm thinking. That's probably the most sensible thing to do in terms of also what I have on the shelf. Unique never meters well in any powder measure I have. I think I'm just going to avoid that for this cartridge. I wouldn't mind getting some Alliant powder, but again, that powder right now is still in short supply all over, so we'll have to see what I can acquire or whatever. But yeah, it should be a really cool project. I think we'll have fun with it, and it'll be interesting to see the results we get. And I hope that we can kind of make something out of it and make some good rounds so I can enjoy this pistol. Because factory ammo, as we know, it is so expensive right now, especially something like 32 ACP. So if we can do a cheap load, that's what we're looking for. All right, folks, so stay tuned. There are a lot of different projects coming up. We have projects which didn't get finished last year, which we're going to be finishing. We have new projects which we're going to be starting, and we also have some other interesting videos coming up. So stay tuned, and we will see you next time.